You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the Black and Gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Good afternoon, Steeler Nation. It's The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Wes Uhler and Matt Williamson with you here on this Monday. Easter is behind us. The owners' meetings behind us. The combine, the big free agency wave, all behind us. And we look ahead, and we are just a little over 2 weeks out. I think about 17 days.
I think so, yeah.
Till the opening of the first round of the NFL draft. Of course, just a few miles from here on the North Shore of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That happened quick, Matt. That escalated quickly,
I know.
as Ron Burgundy might say. Wow, that escalated quickly.
It always does, but going back to just the Steeler coaching change made the whole – it was just accelerant on the fire in terms of content for the offseason for us. You know, usually you get a little bit of a step back, start to ease into it, and then things start to feel like they're happening quick. But now it's like, let's go.
They absolutely are.
Yeah.
I'm
pretty psyched, though.
I was, too. I was going over some scheduling stuff with my wife this morning, and I was like, it's nuts. Like, it's April already. It's going to be the end of April in the draft tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, and then all of a sudden it's like a couple months and we're back to Latrobe. It does happen quickly, certainly, but hopefully everybody had a good Easter weekend out there.
I'm sure your girls did, huh?
They sure did. They loved it. Easter Bunny left them some nice candy and some nice gifts and things like that.
Easter Bunny's a good dude.
Easter Bunny is a good dude. Brought a little bit of decent weather on Saturday. Yesterday was
great. Yeah.
Was a little hit or miss, but it looks like we might finally be turning that corner here in Western Pennsylvania as well, which is of course going to be important in 17 days. Hopefully, it's very nice.
Yeah, good point.
Very nice weather for the draft here and everything. I was laughing like the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette put out an article this morning. They talked to like a civics and infrastructure engineer from Carnegie Mellon.
Okay, somebody knows a thing or two. Yeah.
Basically about like what to expect traffic-wise and all that for the draft and all these things.
All the infrastructure stuff.
He did not paint the prettiest picture. And certainly encourage people to take the T, to carpool, to ride bikes, all those different things if possible if you live in the area. But
my uncle brought up yesterday. We were at his house for Easter. You know, I said, I'm happy I'm not going down to the masses. I'm sure it's a cool environment, but I want to be at the Southside broadcasting so I can do my thing like I do every year. He's like, Southside might be crazy. It might take you longer to get to the facility. I mean, like everything, it's the city is going to be inundated with crazy people and about the draft.
It absolutely is, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a hectic week, but certainly one that I know we're all anticipating and looking forward to.
Sure.
And it's very rare. Listen, for the Steelers organization, right, it's hard to get firsts.
Yeah. I mean, they've done a lot of good stuff.
They've had such a history of success, team success, individual success, offensive players, defensive players, coaching staffs. I mean, there's not a lot of firsts left in the Steelers organization. And in fact, we crossed one of those off the list in September, playing a regular season game in Ireland.
Yep.
But man, this might be the last one for a long time. And it's certainly going to be a celebration and a big party.
Yeah. I don't see hosting a Super Bowl on the agenda anytime soon.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I know some people have talked about that,
Yeah.
but I think you would need a different stadium that had some roof capabilities or dome capabilities, and you would certainly need about 2 or 3 times as many hotel rooms as we currently have.
But the league gives you this, it's just
absolutely
in
right.
the same vicinity.
Absolutely right, and gonna be pretty cool. And man, we are getting closer and closer. And so with that, we'll have plenty of draft conversation today and this week. But Matt,
and folks, people should know this by now, but I mean, I think it goes without saying, but like to preface the week by this, that these teams now are basically in lockdown building their draft boards. We might see a move here and there around the league, but not much. There's not going to be a ton of news between now and draft day. I mean, some stuff came out of New York today, I mean, you'll hear things like that, but all in all, these scouts and coaches are buckling down, looking at their walls, fighting over draft positioning.
Yeah, for the most part, this is not the time that they're spending a bunch of minutes on the phone inquiring about A.J. Brown and what it would take to trade for him and things like that. But
talking to agents and stuff like that. They're gathering information for draft.
Yes, but as you mentioned, there is, I think, one piece of notable news that we have to bring to the forefront. And it just happened this afternoon, actually, via Adam Schefter. The New York Giants defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence has requested a trade and will not be participating in the team's off-season workout programs that begin this week. Teams with a new head coach can begin the first phase of their offseason workouts this week.
Which is what, 10 teams?
Which is 10 teams.
Yeah.
You know, almost
Steelers,
a third of the league, just about a third of the league. Of course, obviously, including the Pittsburgh Steelers, including the New York Giants, who of course have John Harbaugh, and Lawrence and the Giants. Apparently, not on the same page in terms of kind of negotiating a contract and what he wants moving forward. He's got 2 years remaining on his deal, is scheduled to make $20 million, this upcoming season. Matt, he is 28 years old. He'll turn 29 in November.
Okay,
so,
I was thinking he's a year or two younger than that.
I don't know if I'd call him young still, but he certainly isn't old, and he is definitely one of the best defensive tackles in the National Football League.
Without question. I mean, 2 years ago, he might have been number one. I mean, he had a phenomenal season. And last year, the whole team was a little lax.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't the best environment. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't Defensive Player of the Year type of guy, last year. So the obvious question is, should the Steelers inquire? And
we've gotten about a dozen tweets of that already. Yeah.
My answer to that is, when you see a player like this that's basically in his prime or younger, Micah Parsons absolutely came to mind just a little about a year ago. I think 31 teams have to have the conversation. It's just rare that these kind of difference makers that aren't 33 or whatever might become available. I think everybody should have the conversation. How would the Steelers conversation go? Well, sure, our D-line would be unbelievable with him, and our front would be unbelievable with him. But if it prohibits us from getting a quarterback a year from now in any way, I think the answer has to be no, we're not interested. I mean, if the Giants are like, I need next year's first as an opener, no, I'm not interested. I just can't move next year's first no matter what, for where the Steelers stand now on their timeline. It would also worry me, too, that if you give up a lot of assets in this draft, I've often said, people have brought it up to me a lot. Yeah, I like their defensive moves, but they're not getting any younger. And I'm like, well, the youth is going to come. But all of a sudden, you may have like a whole defense that's like 27 or older that all gets old at the same time, and you got nothing waiting in the wings, because you gave up picks this year. So I think you do have to think big picture about it. But boy, he would be exactly what you need in the middle of that defense, and should make you maybe the best defense in the league. Mm-hmm. I just have to strain a little bit to make an offer that the Giants would consider that doesn't cripple you too much.
Is it two first-round picks?
I would think.
Is it a first-round pick, a player, and then maybe a day 2 pick?
Somebody on Twitter threw out 21 Benton.
I think it was our guy Michael Adesso.
Okay, it was somebody I knew was a regular contributor.
That one. Yeah. I saw that one earlier too.
And I'm like, I'd consider that, but boy, I mean, if I don't have 21 and maybe I'm short the 99th pick or whatever as well, can I get a receiver? Can I get an O-lineman? Can I really build the nest for that next quarterback? If you think this move makes you win the Super Bowl, go for it. I just can't quite get there. We're a Super Bowl favorite already, just by this move.
That line you just said is my thought exactly. I was actually with our intrepid video producer, Tyler V, Mr. TV, arguing about this before you got in here today. Because he's all gung-ho about it. He's like, oh, this guy's only 28. He's a beast.
I thought the same thing when I saw the Schefter report. It's like, whoa, how can we make that happen?
My question right back to Tyler, and I give it to you, is does that change your thought on the Steelers winning the Super Bowl? Because maybe
if it does, I understand.
Maybe I'm being a little too, I don't know, big. Maybe I'm being a little too guilty of doing the big picture thing and all, and being too concerned about the future and not just what's best for business right now. I'm not interested in making any moves that don't help me win a Super Bowl. And,
yeah.
And Dexter Lawrence is incredible. Yes. Does he make you a better team this year? Certainly.
Oh, no doubt.
Does that suddenly vault you into a Super Bowl favorite?
Are you a top 5 NFL team with that trade?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
With a quarterback, you're going to probably rent for one more year.
And so then my mind goes to, okay, well, then he'll be 29 this season. All right. Say you get the quarterback, say you strike gold and you get the 2027 quarterback class is what we all think and hope it can be, and there's 4, 5, 6 future franchise quarterbacks in there, and you get one of them.
Yeah.
Is that guy ready to win a Super Bowl in 27? Doubtful. He's going to be a rookie. Okay, all of a sudden,
real doubtful.
All of a sudden, you're looking at 28, and by that point now, Lawrence
is Cam
in,
Hayward or Watt around?
Exactly right. And Lawrence is in his 30.
Yeah,
and so that doesn't mean he's finished. Cam Hayward has shown that he could play. But I just
nose tackle types you tend to fade away slow. But he's more than just a hold the point, big guy.
To me, this is a move that you make if you think he is the missing piece to put you over the top.
Yeah.
To win a Super Bowl or to win a conference title. And
you have a long-term quarterback in place.
Yes.
Right.
And again, on the surface, for just a pure in a vacuum value perspective, would I say pick 21, someone like Keanu Benton or Y.A. Black, and a later pick?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Does that get me to the poker table?
Absolutely. But then what you said, then I'm like, when I'm all about trying to build my nest right now, why am I going to trade a 22, 23-year-old for a 29-year-old?
Yeah. That's a good player.
And again, I realize that I might be doing the politician thing right now. I might be talking out of both sides of my mouth because I tell people all the time, you use the Godfather line, learn to think as those around you think.
Yeah.
The Steelers think as how can we put the best product on the field year after year, game after game, week after week. So maybe that is how I should be thinking of this lens, and then it becomes a different conversation.
They also have another eye on the future, too. But they play the tough game of trying to straddle that both lines.
Yes, which is a very tough game.
It's a tough game.
And I keep coming back to, does it put me over the top for winning a Super Bowl this year? No. And that is what priority one is to me right now. Yeah. And I think you can still improve the roster, which the Steelers have done. I think you can add the youth infusion like you and I have referenced a few times. But I just, until I see a quarterback that I'm saying, bang, we've got our guy for the next decade, the next 15 years, I don't think these are the type of moves you go out and make.
Yeah, and I am convinced that you can win quarterbacks with the Hurts and Darnolds. I mean, the last couple have shown us that. You don't necessarily have to have Mahomes or Allen or a guy like that. But things have to be really good around them. And I think you said that really well. And I also think that the priorities of the organization should, and I'm pretty certain are, because the head coaching hire greatly implies this. 1, win a Super Bowl or compete for a Super Bowl every year. 2, you got to find the next quarterback. And one doesn't – they both fight each other in terms of, should we make this roster move? Well, that might accomplish first one, but that doesn't help me get to the second one. This would greatly help you accomplish the first one, but really hurts you to do the second one.
Yeah.
Really hurts you in any way, shape, or form. Even if you do end up, okay, hypothetically, you trade for Lawrence, you win a playoff game. You're a good team. Rodgers has a pretty good year. You end up with the 26th pick in the draft. Okay, that you still could trade the next first and get to 12 maybe and get the fourth quarterback, and maybe you do find the next Josh Allen. But do I have a left tackle? Do I have a left guard? Do I have that third receiver? Do I have all the things to make his life that soft landing we always talk about? If you win the Super Bowl, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
But they also, and I'm rarely the organization to do this anyway, they're not going to be like, just throw all your future assets into the middle and take a shot for 1 year, and then we'll pay off all the credit cards after.
Even if the Steelers were in a L.A. Rams type roster situation, I don't think they'd do that.
I don't think they'd do that either.
That's just not their bag. That's not their cup of tea.
And the key is, too, I mean, and we've brought this up, and we're not fortunate enough to be in the meetings with the people in charge, but they've designed a plan. I mean, they've thought this out. They've talked this out. Well, if we keep this guy for one more year, say it's Patrick Queen. I'm just hypothetical. We'll hopefully we'll get a good year out of Queen. He'll probably walk. He'll probably get us a comp pick. Maybe we draft a third-round linebacker. And you have to be adjusting on the fly.
Sure.
If an opportunity like this arises, you say, is it worth looking at this plan?
And you're right. I mean, all 31 teams should have the conversation.
Should have to have a conversation, yeah.
Even if it's a 2-minute conversation. And
a handful of them are probably like, I mean, the Dolphins are like, no. I mean, it doesn't do us any good at all, right? Of course. I mean, there's some, of course. And it's probably true for any time. I mean, everyone's probably had the A.J. Brown conversation, too, or whatever. I mean, so it's not exclusive to him. But is it really worth us not necessarily tearing up this plan that we've built, but really altering it a great deal for this one player who, even if he's the best player in the league, probably isn't enough to make us a Super Bowl favorite. And he's a nose tackle.
That's where I'm at.
He's
unbelievable.
Yeah, and he plays a ton of snaps. When I say he's a nose tackle, it's not like he's 20 snaps a game guy.
Does he make the Steelers a better team? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Without question. But that is a move that you make if you think he's the final piece to really putting you over the hump. And
it sounds like he's going to want a new deal.
I'm sure.
That's going to be a contract on top of it,
And then, as you mentioned, a defense that is, hey, we went over this exercise on Friday. A defense that's snap-weighted age, right?
Yeah.
Already pretty long in the tooth by
No
NFL
doubt.
standards. You'd be, in all likelihood, swapping one of those younger guys for someone who's better, more proven, without a doubt. But also 6-7 years older. It's an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah.
And I am with you where you started in the sense of every NFL team, even if it's a 20-second conversation, you should have it. But it is funny how, man, we got blown up with tweets as soon as this news came across the timeline this afternoon of, should the Steelers do this? What would you give up? Would you think about it? Would you consider it?
How about these couple teams? Chargers have a ton of money.
Yeah.
And haven't really used it. The middle of their defense could really use a guy like that. They would never do it in 100 years, but the Bengals should consider it.
The Bengals definitely should.
Yeah.
They've got an offense that's ready to win now.
What do they pick, 10 or something like that?
Yeah.
He'd probably veto and not want to go there. But, but you might only have to give up 10 for him. Who knows? The Ravens should consider it.
The Ravens should definitely consider it.
Yeah, and I think the Bears should maybe consider it.
I don't think Buffalo could because they already traded their second-round pick for DJ Moore. But if you're a team like that, if you think you've got the quarterback and you need help on defense, you should absolutely be considering it.
Yeah, I don't know if the Chiefs could pull it off. Well, maybe they could. Put them next to Christian. That's scary.
Man,
right,
I don't like that.
But, those are the type of teams to me. And all those teams have quarterbacks in place. I'm talking about Burrow and Lamar and Mahomes and Herbert and, Caleb Williams.
Niners maybe.
Maybe. I could buy that. They traded for a Digizua, so they're probably
That's
done
true. They
there,
did. I forgot about that.
They kind of had this conversation on a lesser degree.
Sure.
Right. So those are the teams, not that they're just on different timelines, quarterback-wise.
That's what it all comes down to me is syncing up that timeline.
Yeah.
And that's a position of strength for the Patriots. So, they're already good in that area.
If they were needy, they would be a good one. But
if they were needy, they'd be a very good one. Very good one.
And I'm sure there's an argument out there, some people listening saying, Matt, if you have the best defense in the league, I don't need much from my rookie quarterback. Yeah, but it's not 1975 anymore either. You're going to need a lot from my quarterback.
Yes.
I can't win 13-9 all day, all season
you
long,
can't.
And just take it.
Even Seattle, whose defense was outstanding, they needed Darnold to be that guy a couple times.
Still the 10th to 12th best, offense in the league.
Yes.
Right. You have to have balance. You're just not going to win low-scoring games time and time again.
That is our opening salvo here on the show with a little news of the day. Speaking of trades. Bill Barnwell on ESPN.com.
Oh, I meant to click on that. That looked interesting.
Put together basically a mock trade idea for every pick in the first round.
Okay.
For if teams that should move up, teams that should move back. Like if each team was to trade away from their first round draft pick.
What's a logical move?
What's a logical move? And some of these were very interesting. Particularly, I thought the Steelers one was pretty interesting. So we'll kind of stay with this theme of trades here in the first hour when we return. Just getting started on a Monday. New week. Same us?
More or less.
Yeah.
Ever evolving, ever improving.
I always say that to, like my mom would always be like, "Did you make any New Year's resolutions?" And I'd be like, "No, Mom, New Year, same me." Okay?
Don't mess with perfection.
Don't mess with perfection. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. New year, same us. New week, same us. We'll be back with more. Just getting started. Uhler, Williamson, it's The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.
What's up, NFL fans? The NFL Draft is finally here. And while you might not know who your team is drafting this year, you do know your watch party's #1 pick, Bud Light. The clean, crisp taste that has all the scouts talking. Guess that's why it's been the group's go-to draft beer season after season. Be sure to order a round for the table before your team's on the clock. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Back on the drive here on this Monday as we roll along into a new week and starting the opening segment with kind of the news of the day and big trade request out of New York with Dexter Lawrence of the Giants. And that kind of piggybacks, Matt, into an article that Bill Barnwell wrote, released this morning on ESPN.com, basically where let's get weird, and do kind of a mock draft of trade ideas for these 32 picks in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
If each team were to trade from their pick that they have in the first round, what would be a reasonable ask? What would be something that they'd be looking to get? That type
Basically,
of thing.
do I want to go up? Do I want to go down? Trade him for a player?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So, like, for example, for the Raiders, and he admits this one's been tough because,
of course,
Fernando Mendoza and all the presumption there, and the really only, thought of is kind of nailed on franchise quarterback type in this class. But he basically said, what if they traded down one spot with the Jets? They traded the first overall pick to the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
They got the second overall pick. They got the Jets' second round 33rd overall pick to start round 2. And then they picked up a 4th round pick as well. I guess in terms of value, just on the, you move back one spot and you pick up the 33rd pick and the 103rd pick. But
to me, that's not even close.
To me, it's
enough.
not even close to give up on Fernando Mendoza and the only quarterback in this draft.
And I'm sure Bill recognizes this,
He does.
but this is
He's
a
like,
done
this
deal.
one's-
And
yeah.
this one's not worth talking about. But about a month and a half ago, when we weren't as far into this process, I did a whole show about who could get to number 1. And really, it was only the Jets. But it was like, I want 2, I want next year's first.
Yeah.
And I won 33 or something like that. I mean, to even give me this conversation, to move off a franchise quarterback in a draft that only has 1.
It only has 1.
Yeah. And at the time, I actually thought, this is like before free agency, before Linderbaum, before the Crosby almost trade, et cetera. I'm like, I think I'd do it and just take the bite at the apple with the Jets' first-round pick, the Raiders' first-round pick for the next year's quarterback.
Sure.
And put Reese on my team and all kinds of other stuff, But none of that's happening.
No, it's absolutely not. No. And so that's what most of these are. Like,
sure, I'm sure some aren't.
The Jets and the Titans swap from pick 2 for the Jets back to 4 to give the Titans pick 2, and the Titans end up selecting Arvell Reese instead.
And the Jets are happy with whoever's still sitting there at 4 or something along those lines.
Exactly right. The Cardinals move back to pick 7 with the Commanders.
Okay.
They get...
So, coincidentally, today on NFL Six-Pack show that I do, we just went back and forth. We had a dueling mock draft.
Okay.
I had the odds, he had the even.
Sure.
And it wasn't like it was a competition, but
maybe
it was...
Maybe we'll do that this week.
Yeah. It can be fun, but it's also hard to do live on the air. Because you kind of have to have a list handy and
okay,
while
wait, who's this team's personnel? And,
yeah. I mean, that part I'm good with, but I was joking at the end. I'm like, Peacock, I can't listen to you because while you're talking, I'm sitting here making my next pick. Right. So it's like, I kind of have to trust you that you're saying something smart over there, but yeah. But anyway, we made one trade and he moved. And I guess there's been a little bit of speculation on this one because I had the 3rd pick and I was going to take Malagoa. And he said there's been a lot of scutterbutt, and who knows if it's true, that Dallas would love to really, really move up.
Okay.
And basically the trade value chart tells you 3 for Dallas is both their firsts. Is pretty close. And really Dallas should even throw in something.
Yeah, maybe a 6th rounder or something like that.
We just did it.
Rounder.
Yeah. And we just did the mock of, I'm sitting there at 3. If I'm them, I'll take those 2 firsts. In this draft, I'd love to just get 2 firsts. Which goes to just, where the Steelers pick's a better value area than where the Cardinals pick at 3.
Mm-hmm.
And they moved up for Bailey, at 3.
Yeah.
And
be a nice piece for their defense.
Yeah, right. And I could understand why Dallas would do that. I mean, that's an obvious replacement for Parsons, and you've done a lot of other stuff up front. But Arizona should be all ears on that. You moved back to, 12 and somewhere in the 20s. I forget where exactly Dallas picks.
Totally.
They need everything.
If you're asking me right now, Steelers could have the 3rd pick in the draft, or they could have, 14 and
both Dallas's picks.
Both Dallas's picks.
I'd take both Dallas's.
I would too.
Yeah, And actually what ended up happening when the draft rolled around, when Arizona was on the clock again at 12, he ended up taking Ty Simpson because a couple of the targets were kind of gone.
A couple of the offensive linemen were gone.
Like,
so, yeah.
I can understand it. You
Totally.
know, right. I mean, if the Jets might take him at 16, why not take him at 12? And that's what always happens with quarterbacks.
Totally. And that part makes some sense.
Mm-hmm.
That part does. And so, like, for
and
example,
you have another first-round pick in the bag, and then you have that early second one, you know.
Yes. For example, he has the Browns swapping with the Cowboys. So the Browns would get picked 12 and 20.
Cowboys seem to be the hot name of move-up teams.
Browns would give up their 6th and 24th pick.
Okay.
They would get 12 and 20 and the Cowboys 2027 second rounder.
Okay.
Now, see, that makes sense.
That makes some sense too.
Yeah.
Right.
Because like a second rounder in 2027 has got a lot of potential value.
Yes. So I think Arizona at 3 is a little bit in no man's land. Like, that's really early for me for the first O-lineman, whoever it is.
It's early for the first, like, anything.
Anything.
It's early for the first wide receiver.
I mean, if Reese was sitting there, I'd be like, all right, I'll just take him and figure it out. But, I mean, nobody there, to me, is value at 3. I don't think it's much different for the Browns at 6 because I've talked a lot about the Browns situation. So if we go into this with the notion that the Browns should add a receiver and a tackle, the safe thing is you take the tackle first at 6. And then there'll be Concepcion or whatever at the end of the first round. But Tate's pretty clearly wide receiver 1 to me. He's not wide receiver 1 any year. And I'd much rather have Tate, if I'm the Browns, as kind of a big-bodied, featured receiver than any of the tackles. Freeling, to me, is a bit of a leap, at that early. But then you're keeping your fingers crossed. Is Lomu or Proctor or somebody like that still going to be around late in the first round? History shows never. But this year, there's enough of them, and I don't know when the first one comes off the board. You might be able to pull that off. But either way is not great.
I
was where the Browns sit.
I was listening to our buddy Dane Brugler driving in here today.
Yeah, I think the Beast comes out like tomorrow the next day.
I believe so. Yeah. And he was joking. He was basically like, the Beast comes out, and then he's like, for the next 3 days, all I do is media hits around the country.
I know. Yeah,
he's like, after it comes out for 3 days, my life is he's like, every 15 minutes, I'm doing a different a different radio
come on
show.
The radio with us,
he was talking about how, like, someone like Caleb Downs, he was like, it's all pretty consensus that he's a top 5, 6, 7 prospect in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but if he doesn't go until pick 12, until pick 15, don't be shocked.
Don't be shocked.
Because that's just as much as we treat every single draft like it's its own entity, as we should.
Mm-hmm.
Certain groups are stronger, certain groups are weaker. Some years are better for quarterbacks, some are thinner in the quarterback market. Teams still have I'm not drafting a safety in the top 10. I'm not drafting a running back in the top 10. And that's not going to change just based off of what the strengths and the weaknesses are in a given year when teams have those philosophical, not season by season, but like decade by decade beliefs. So there's
some massive trends in the league. Tackles and edges go early.
That's it.
And again, we talked about this late last week. I think 15 tackles and edges could be in the first round. And before you know it, something has to fall then. The second and third safeties, the second, third, fourth receivers,
exactly right.
Because Mendoza, Downs are going to be first-round picks, even if they're not a tackle or safety. But before you know it, you get to 32 pretty quick. So I've been meaning to use this analogy, and I heard it a while ago, and I'm almost certain that I have not brought it up here. And I think it'll help people understand why you take tackles and edges over even as good a prospect as Downs and Love and all those dudes. Venga, right, that are just not, quote, premium positions. So anyone that's ever done any betting, and I'm not a betting expert, this is the best way to look at it. Like when you bet the money line and, okay, this $100 bet pays $150 back if you hit.
I bet on the Pirates to beat the Baltimore Orioles.
Because Skeens is pitching. It's a good, it doesn't pay a lot. Or it's a football game where the guy's a 7-point favorite. So it only pays $120 on your $100
Ohio
bid.
State against Northwestern.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's taking a running back in the first round, where you're probably going to hit your bet. but it just doesn't pay as well. But if you take a tackle in the first round, that pays 5-1. And all you have to do is ask your cap guy. Like he doesn't have to be a superstar.
That's like taking Indiana to win the national championship before the year starts.
Right. I mean, that pays 5-1. It's like, okay, I probably don't have quite as good a chance of hitting, but it's really not that much different. I mean, if my scouting staff's good, my chance of hitting on the third tackle off the board should be as good as hitting the second safety or whatever. You know what I mean? But the payoff is so much greater for your cap benefits and your cost navigating to go acquire one. I love Brisker, but you can always get Brisker. And he's good.
Sure.
I can't always get Freeling, even if he's just an average starter. I can't
always get Troy Fautanu.
Right. I can't get Sewell. But if I do, my bet paid 6-1 or 10-1. That's really the difference. Is the risk is about the same, but the payoff's so much greater if you do hit on your pick at those positions.
You hit on the coin toss at the start of the Super Bowl, and it's a nice 2-1 return, right?
You're happy, sure.
But you hit like your boy did on the Seattle Seahawks, scoring a non-offensive touchdown in the Super Bowl. And baby, that pays like 4.5-1, cousin.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it's exactly how it is, right? And it's not. And in that instance, that's harder to do. It's much harder to hit your bet.
Yes.
But in the draft, it's not that much harder to do. I know just as much about the tackle as I do the running back, but it pays off better.
That makes a lot of sense. That's a good analogy to use. All right, so let's. I wanted to quickly before we get to
what the Steelers
one.
Sure,
I thought the Ravens one was interesting too.
Okay.
Ravens trade with the Miami Dolphins. They send the Dolphins their 14th pick in the first round. They get back the Dolphins' 30th overall pick, which was the Broncos' Jalen Waddle one.
Yeah.
And Chop Robinson.
Okay.
So
Robinson's a valuable guy.
They move back 16 spots in the first round, but they would also get Chop Robinson.
And you pair him with Hendrickson.
I thought that was actually one of those, I feel like that could make sense for both teams type trade.
I do that if I'm Miami.
I definitely do that if I'm Miami. Yeah.
I may try to squeak out like a next year's third or something too, just because I want every pick I can get.
Sure.
I want, I don't. Quality picks for the Dolphins is great, but quantity's also
for the Ravens. If you're like, we don't love that area where we're drafting,
right? Like, what edge would you get in that area that would make as much of an impact as Robinson? Nobody today.
No.
I mean, you're not going to get
looking
Bailey.
At the Kedrick Falk types. Yeah, you're not getting Bailey. You're not getting Bain.
You're not getting
Arvell Reese.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that one.
I thought that one made a little bit of sense.
That does make some sense.
But here's what the outcome was for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers trading up to 11th.
Wow, going up.
With the Dolphins as well. So Steelers trade up to 11th, and they pick up a 6th-round pick next year. They give the Dolphins their 21st pick in the first round, second pick in second of the third-round picks, which is the 70. Or sorry, no, that's the first of the third round, 76 overall.
Yeah.
So 21st overall first-round pick, first of the 3 third-round picks, and a second rounder in 2027. That's the part I'm not doing.
That's a problem.
Yes.
But who are you going up for? Does he tell you what the goals are? Or?
So here's the logic basically. Let's
I don't know who
see.
that player would be for me.
If Ohio State safety Caleb Downs falls out of the top 10, Steelers move up to 11 to get him.
It's kind of a cheaper version of doing the Dexter Lawrence conversation. Like you do have one of the absolute best defenses in the league immediately, but he's not 28. He doesn't need a second contract.
He says this would remind him.
That would be a really appealing guy to go get.
He said this would remind him of when the Steelers went from 27 to 16 to nab this safety named Troy Polamalu.
I had a feeling he was going to bring that up.
Okay, now that's doing the thing that you and I always laugh about. Let's compare these college kids to, that guy can shoot. He's Steph Curry, baby.
Right. And that was 5 spots to move up, by the way. That was not 21 or 11 spots to move up or whatever.
That always makes me laugh.
Yeah.
He's got some Troy Polamalu vibes. Really?
I don't know how I could trade next year's first or second
that
in
would
almost
be the biggest,
any.
That would be the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I'd
rather send you a young player.
Even if it was next year's 4th, but not a second. I'm not
first and second.
I'm not giving up my first and second for next year are untouchable.
Yeah,
untouchable.
I mean, very rarely do you say there's assets in an organization that are untouchable. People be like, "Oh, T.J. Watt's untouchable." You could convince me. You know, like
Sure.
you know, like
Someone offers me 3 first-round picks.
Right,
yeah.
right. I mean, I got some people I'm good friends with, but you give me the right deal, I can ship them out.
Yeah, Matt
too,
would
you
trade
know?
me out of here in a heartbeat if you gave him
I
the right
could-
offer.
Yeah, you give me enough. You know, sure. You know, but there aren't many things in the organization that are untouchable. I think the first pick, like Troy Fautano to me is untouchable. Zach Frazier's untouchable. DK Metcalf isn't. You know, like you could convince me that makes my draft 2 receivers or whatever. But
Joey
next
Porter
year's-
Jr. is untouchable, but
he's
if
pretty close.
somebody
Yeah,
offers
right.
me 2 first-round picks and a
Yeah.
3rd-round pick, I would have
Right.
to think about it.
But next year's first and second are pretty close to untouchable for me. Like, and to me, that also clouds your Lawrence conversation too.
Interesting. The other one that
I just
really,
don't know how you move those things
the other one that,
unless you're getting a quarterback in return somehow, and who's trading your quarter. You know, I'm not talking about like
Right.
Mac Jones. I'm
Right.
talking about
a top.
I'm talking like C.J. Stroud's unhappy.
Yeah.
And fall in love with
Yes.
him. You know.
The other one on this quickly that I thought was interesting: the Eagles trade for Max Crosby.
I still think he could be on a move.
Takes their first pick, 23rd overall, 3rd-round pick next year, and Nolan Smith Jr.
Okay. I'd probably rather have the original Ravens deal,
sure. I
but
mean,
I don't
2
think they're
first-round
going to
picks
get that no matter what
No.
because this first-round pick's much later than the Raven ones that should have went. Nolan Smith's a really nice piece. Save a lot of cap space. Just keep drafting like crazy. Eagles were pretty darn good with Max Crosby.
Yes, they were.
I don't know who says no to that one.
Another one.
That's what's fun about these trades. I like to think who says no.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Another one I wanted to run by you, and I know we're due for a break
Nah, I
here.
don't
but
care. We can do all of them.
Chiefs trade their 29th pick in the first round. That's the Rams pick for the McDuffie trade to the Steelers for the Steelers' 2nd-round pick this year, 53rd overall, and Alex Highsmith.
I'm not doing that if I'm a Steelers.
I don't think I'm giving up a second in Highsmith for the first rounder. If it was just the first rounder for Highsmith, I would think about it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to
And then I give a huge contract to Herbig, and I draft one in the second round.
I don't want to
and-
throw in my 2nd-rounder and Highsmith for a
think
29th
Highsmith,
overall.
yeah.
It'd be different if this was the 13th overall pick. You
Now,
know? Or
I'm trying
they're-
to think how I would say yes to that is everyone knows some of my draft crushes. Let's say 21, you take Fanu or Max, and at 29, Concepcion's still sitting there. Is Highsmith enough to get both of those? You know what I mean? Or like two, you get the same tier receiver and O lineman. The names don't even necessarily
Yeah.
matter. Maybe
Yeah.
it's Boston you
Sure,
love,
sure,
or maybe
sure.
it's Lemon, or you take them in the opposite order. But is Highsmith enough for me to get 2 tier 1 offensive players with my first 2 picks?
I want to talk about that with you for a couple minutes.
I lean towards no, but he's a valuable guy.
Let's dig into that for a
Yeah.
few more minutes to close out the first hour, but we got to get to this break.
Yeah.
Let's pick that up and have that conversation to close down the first hour of the program here today. It is The Drive. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Final segment here of the first hour, and I think we kind of stumbled into an interesting hypothetical there, Matt.
Yeah. And I'm not
So-
super psyched to trade Highsmith. Let's get that first and foremost.
Yes.
Yeah, right. He's a valuable piece.
Oh, without a doubt. He was
How old is he?
He was the Steelers' best edge rusher last year. He turns 29
Oh, I was gonna
during
say, okay.
training camp.
That's a year older than I thought, but okay.
He's 28 now. The first week in August, he turns 29. So he
And he does have a legit contract, and
Yes.
right. There's cap benefits to moving him.
So basically, the hypothetical was: would you trade Alex Highsmith and the Steelers' 53rd pick to the Chiefs for their 29th pick? So you would
I
have
think they would do that.
you would have picked 21 and 29 if you're the Steelers in the first
Correct.
round. You would lose your 2nd-round pick, and you would lose Alex Highsmith.
I assume when this happened, you already made your 21st pick. Usually these things happen like
I get what,
you know what I mean?
saying.
Like
I
you
get what
probably
you're
already
saying.
have
like
a
this
pick in
isn't
the
going to
bag.
happen next week.
I guess it
2
could. I
weeks,
mean,
but you're
McDuffie
right.
did, but yeah, right.
That's for the most part. These things
You'd
happen.
like to know who's
during
on the clock at 29
Yes,
and what you already have in
sure,
the bag at
sure.
21. It's just generally how these things happen.
So I think the Chiefs would definitely do it.
I think they'd
because
do it right now.
They'd be adding a top 10 edge rusher in the NFL to a team that is
They could
certainly
really use
right
him,
in a
and
window. Yeah.
He might have 12 sacks for him. I
Right.
mean, he's a really good player.
Yes, and he could still be great for another 3 or 4 years.
I know we don't have a ton of time, but I'm going to throw a couple things out there. if the deal happens,
you extend Herbig the next week.
Yeah, immediately. You have that deal in place. You probably call Herbig's agent before you hit even yes on the trade. All right, let's get that locked up. Boom, that happens. And frankly, I'm not sure there's a number I'm going to have a problem giving Herbig. I think he's that good. I'm also, something you and I haven't talked about much because it really doesn't affect the Steelers this minute. It is a deep edge draft. Like those third-round picks that we never take an edge player, there's good ones. And I don't need a first-rounder to replace Highsmith.
Sure.
I need Herbig, Sawyer,
Highsmith was
in
a
the third
rounder himself.
Yeah, and they have a good history of developing those guys, different coaching staff. And you also pick up cap space. So there's benefits. There's no doubt.
There absolutely is.
But you lose a good player.
You lose a very good player.
Yeah.
That's the downside, is you lose a guy who might have been your best defense. It was Cam Hayward, but might have been your second best defensive player.
Pretty darn
last year.
good snap per snap, yeah.
I mean, he's right in that conversation with Cam Hayward, with Joey Porter Jr. as the best 2 or 3 players on that defense last year.
Yeah.
He is going to be 29, and he also has some injury history.
They have to address that.
I think you have to. And
durability's not his best friend.
if you don't have a guy proven like Herbig behind him, it becomes a completely different conversation. So all those things factor into this as well. The real question for me becomes, if you could nail, and this is the whole pie in the sky hypothetical.
Yeah.
But if you knew there was a wide receiver or offensive lineman at 21 and a wide receiver or offensive lineman at 29, then I think you can start leaning towards yes.
And that's why it has to happen on draft day.
Exactly, right. Because you have to see how it all plays out.
So here's the way I'd lay it out is I think every one of us would take 21 and 53 and trade them for, I'm going to pick my 2 favorites.
Yep.
Concepcion and Max.
Sure.
I think everyone would say, yes, I'll give you those 2 picks for those 2 now.
I think you'd be crazy if you didn't.
And frankly, I don't think that's possible. The only way to me it's possible is if you happen to move down from like 21 to 25, and then you move up from 53 to 40.
Yeah.
And, okay, so you went backwards and forwards to make that happen. Now, would you do that minus Highsmith? 21 and 53 for those 2, or who 2 you like, Fano and Boston, but it costs you Highsmith. That's a lot different situation than just doing it for 21 and 53.
Absolutely.
But 21 and 53 is not going to get that done. Now, I've also thought in the back of my head now for the last couple of weeks, can you make your pick at 21 and take one of those thirds and get back for Max or KC or Cooper or someone like that if they start falling on day 2? Maybe, but it's risky. But I think at 21 and 29, you're getting 2 of the guys we want for sure.
Yes.
I mean, I think you're pretty safe to get one of those 2, especially if you go tackle first or lineman first.
Cool. That would be, if you tell me right now there's this hypothetical scenario where you can get Fanu at 21.
Yeah.
You can get Concepcion at 29.
Say you've drafted Fanu and the Chiefs call you when they're on the clock at 29 and Concepcion's there and you already have Fanu in the bag.
Through the entire lens of what we just laid out, I would have a hard time saying no.
It's pretty appealing.
I just sung the praises of Highsmith, that he might have been the best player on the defense this past year.
But you're taking your assets from defense and moving them to offense,
which I would like to see starting to happen a little bit.
Yes,
you get much younger,
way younger. Cheaper.
You get cheaper. You get an easy solution to the Herbig conundrum.
Right. Which is a great conundrum to have, but your path is obvious for the replacement.
And you add two quality first-round pieces to the nest for hopefully your 2027 quarterback.
And I might be like, KC, throw in your third rounder next year. You're going to win the Super Bowl. It's late.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fine. Love it.
Yeah. Give me something next year.
But it would all come down to the board would have to play out perfectly, because if suddenly you trade that pick 29, but there's not a wide receiver or an offensive lineman that you like,
they just dried up and they're gone at 27, 28. It's like,
Then it's like, why did I do that?
I'm not doing that. Right. Yeah. But it would have to line up perfect to even consider it.
Interesting one. Let us know on Twitter, in the YouTube comments as well. We, in our pre-production meeting today, we're talking about how we got to start incorporating the YouTube comments a little bit more into the show. We're a little selective towards the X Twitter, but we'll get some YouTube comments going too. So let us know what you think about that. If you think we're on the right track, if you think we're crazy, if you think you would definitely do it, if you definitely wouldn't do it. That was an interesting hypothetical laid out by Bill Barnwell there that we kind of piggybacked on and added an extra layer to.
Hey, folks, I mean, this is going to be kind of a slow week for content. If you want to throw out, you guys could play Bill Barnwell. throw out Highsmith to the Eagles for this guy, or like if you want to throw out hypothetical trades, we'll address them.
Heck yeah.
I mean, if they're crazy, we'll be like, no, that stinks. But what do you know?
Heck yeah.
Right.
Let's do it.
You can be matchmaker for draft day trades for the Steelers.
Listen, Matt and I have a lot of time to fill without much going on.
Yeah.
So anybody,
this Freiermuth trade that you think is the best one ever, I'll listen.
Yep. Different.
Or should the Steelers go trade for a player?
Yeah. Different mock draft scenarios.
Lawrence.
Like we'd gotten an interesting one from I think it was Dehev on Twitter. David on Twitter was basically like, I'd love for you and Matt to do a drive Steelers draft where you both kind of like make your squads. Doesn't have to be full 22 man, but you could do like one quarterback, one wide receiver, one running back, one tight end, etc. And you guys kind of go back and forth of picking any Steeler from any era. So like say he says, for example, say Wes picks Big Ben early, then Matt could wait and take Bradshaw at the end.
In the end of the round. Yeah.
So we could even do something like that in the next. I don't even know if we can do that before the draft. Maybe that's more of a post draft when we're really hurting for content.
I'm definitely cool with it post draft, but even pre, we could figure out something.
Even interesting ideas like you guys have.
Could
like
even
that.
do it just with draft picks.
Ooh.
Like you took Mendoza first. I'll wait forever, but man, I should have taken Mendoza first. You know what I mean? Like that's a big.
I'll take Ty Simpson with my very last pick.
Like Love would be a high pick because the gap from him to the second running back is huge.
Him and Mendoza both would probably be the first two picks for that reason. So we'll have some fun. We'll do some of those exercises. You know where to get at us. On the X Twitter, in the YouTube comments if you want to get involved. That's an hour in the books, another hour to go. We will get to some more mock draft conversation and plenty of your questions, comments, concerns, and reactions in hour number 2. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Good evening, Steeler Nation. How we doing? Well, that's good. Us too. Hour number 2 here of The Drive on this Monday. Beautiful Monday in the Steel City. Things are looking up. Everyone, Matt and I, we can't walk out of this studio to go get a coffee or a water without running into some of our coworkers from KISS and the X and 3WS and the draft. What's up, guys? What's going on for the draft? What are you going to be doing for the draft? It is,
That's so unusual for me. It's usually who the Steelers are going to pick.
You're right.
This year, it's like, well, where are you going to be? How are you going to be?
What are you doing?
I'm going on the south side and no one's going to bug me. Yeah.
Exactly right. I'll tell you what, though. It is, it's a fun time. There's not been this much buzz in kind of the Pittsburgh sports sphere this time of year in a long time.
Oh, right. I mean, it's on the news every night, and everyone's talking about it, right?
The draft is a massive ordeal, and as we mentioned, it's very rare in football for Steelers and really just in a city as sports accomplished as Pittsburgh to have a first. Mm-hmm. But this is one of the few final ones hosting a draft. The Pirates are rolling, just swept Baltimore. The Penguins swept the Florida Panthers over the weekend. Yeah. I think they're one game away from clinching a playoff spot for the first time in a few years. That Connor Griffin kid is tearing the cover off the ball for the Buccos.
Yep.
Steelers hosting the draft and with a lot of different possibilities and new coaching staff and kind of turning the page into a new era. It's an exciting time to be talking sports here in Western Pennsylvania, that's for sure. And Matt, with that, we have gotten about 7 million tweets and different things. I figured we'd start off this hour. I want to get back into some mock draft stuff with you from NFL.com.
Okay.
But we'll kind of bob and weave with some tweets and some topics here in hour number 2.
Yeah, it's kind of how hour number 1 went. We brought up a couple things before we knew it. We were eating up a whole hour. So let's just throw it out there.
That's how it works this time of year, right? Mr. Steel City tweets us and says, love the show. Look forward to it every day. Well, thank you for that. We appreciate it. When will some of the bigger name wide receivers that are still free agents start signing? Diggs, Ayuk, Jennings, Hill, etc.
Yeah.
And do you see the Steelers as a landing spot for any? Thanks and keep up the great work. It's a good question.
It is, and I don't know when that answer will be. So almost every one of them has some sticking point. I mean, some have some off-the-field stuff at the moment. Some have some medical stuff at the moment. Brandon Ayuk is still a Niner. I mean, technically, they have not yet cut him. So they would, you'd have to offer a third-round pick or at least wait around. I don't understand why Jennings is still out there, but he must be asking for too much or has a need that we don't know about or something. There's some reason because he's a good enough player. Obviously, he should have been signed. the answer I bet to all those is after the draft, but I do think all will be NFL players. Tyreek, I guess, is the only one that maybe hangs it up, but I mean, I'm pushing the envelope there. I mean, he just has off the field and medical, and he's expensive. The only name I could see being a Steeler, though, is Ayuk. I think that Omar in the front office clearly liked him. He'd have to get cut. You'd have to, if you left the draft with only a third-round receiver, then I would be interested in Ayuk, Pittman, Metcalf's going to be a lot of money and a lot of the same aged guys all in one room. So, I'm reaching. But that's the only one I'd still have interest in. I still think there's a chance he's really good. Really accomplished route runner. But the draft would have to – it would almost have to be like if they traded up for Downs like we talked about first hour, well, then maybe I could call and get Ayuk to be my receiver and throw a third-round pick at Hurst or something. You know what I mean? Okay. And this – you diverge from the path that we think they're going to take. But sometimes that path is too good not to. At least gives you some kind of fallback to find that third receiver.
And these are all similar to the conversations that, teams are having.
You have to have these conversations, right?
I would think, though, that from probably all those guys, or at least the vast majority of those guys, they're going to have to wait until after the draft now at this point. I
assume so, yeah. I think that the hay's in the barn. A lot of these teams don't have the cap space to do it, too. You'd have to move things around. Something would have to go not to plan. I'm busy building my draft board at this point. I can't be talking to Tyreek Hill necessarily, But it's kind of like the Browns conversation we had. If the Browns' first two picks are going to be a receiver and an offensive tackle, I bet they're going back and forth like crazy. Do we take the tackle at 6 or the tackle in the 20s?
What if these guys are off the board? Then what if these guys are off the board?
And I think the Steelers have a similar conversation. If their first two picks are going to be O-line and wide out, let's build the board if we take wide receiver 21, O-line at 53. Well, what's it look like the opposite way? And let's run a bunch of mocks to see how that ends up. Do we think we can really get Pregnon at 53? Or is that really no chance of happening? You know what I mean? And that's what these teams are doing a lot right now, strategy-wise. We have these picks, or, man, if I could just get to 44, I'm pretty sure that I can get the guys I want. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't go that way, are we comfortable calling Ayuk? Not really.
Sure.
Yes. I'd be glad to do it.
Or not really, or totally. That's that's a fine plan B.
Yeah. Maybe we can skimp on wideout and call Ayuk. I just don't see the Steelers doing that because of the two guys they already have in-house, just in terms of contract and age.
I want to, agreed.
You know what I mean?
I want to, so.
Here's a crazy one. This is not what they're going to do, folks, but I'm going to tease you to no end. Could they go trade for Lawrence and sign Ayuk and try to win the whole thing right now?
Sure.
That's possible. You could pull that off.
Sure.
They're not going to, but you could do that. If you were the most aggressive organization out there,
I'd say you also better have an answer from your quarterback before you go and pull some strings.
Yeah,
like
that.
You better not just think that he's coming back.
Yeah.
You better have that ink dried on the contract.
Right. And you think he can be a Super Bowl winning quarterback this year for you. You could do that. They're not going to, but and nor would I do it, but you could do that.
Interesting. I want to read you two tweets here, one from RJ, one from Tyler, because they both relate to the tight end position. And I think they kind of piggyback off of each other. So RJ tweets us and says, just how big of a need is your third tight end in the Mike McCarthy offense compared to, say, depth at the offensive line or in the secondary? Just how many snaps are there for TE3? And then Tyler says, since the Steelers are most likely going to draft a tight end at some point, do you think that tight end will look more like Pat Freiermuth or Darnell Washington? Curious of what you guys think of some later projects like Oscar Delp from Georgia or Eli Raridon from Notre Dame.
Delp's my favorite.
I was going to say, you love Delp.
I love Delp, and I think he might be gone by the fourth round, maybe even end of the third. He tested great.
Those are two good questions, though.
They are.
How much does the TE3 really matter, and what type are you looking for?
I think the first part of the question is, that person probably won't play a lot this year, unless there's an injury. But I don't think you're going to even see a ton of 12 personnel. And if you are, it's definitely Freiermuth and Washington. And I think you'll see more 12 because those two are so good than McCarthy has played in the past. I don't think he's had two guys that have just demanded snaps like Freiermuth and Washington, presumably on the field together, but they each have their specific roles as well. That being said, you're definitely going to have three on the roster. And right now you have two. And it's a super deep tight end draft. So you are going to draft one. And again, I think you'll get one in the 5th round that you have a 3rd or 4th round grade on. So I think you'll get value because we know 32 tight ends aren't going to get drafted. Not every team's going to draft one.
Sure.
And, so you're going to be one of the teams getting one. And there's a lot of them. My hunch is the simple answer to the question, too, is he won't look like Connor Hayward. Like, to me, that's the only reason Hayward's not back is he's just not a traditional tight end, and he's not for everybody. He's a different type of player, certainly, than Washington. I would bet he's more Freiermuth-ish.
Yeah. Well, I would make that bet just because it's hard.
Well, there's more of them anyway.
To find.
Yeah, right.
It's just, you're fishing from a deeper pond in that regard.
Yeah, one's a unicorn.
Yes.
You're right.
Yes.
But I bet he's not a 265.
Agreed.
Runs a 4.9 guy. You know what I mean? Just McCarthy's history are mostly his tight ends, like a Ferguson, going back to like Jermichael Finley with the Packers, are usually move around detached dudes more so than they are hammerheads.
Hammerhead Sharks do have good instincts, though, Matt Williamson. T-Mac tweets and says, if the Steelers stop playing Renegade as their game-changing song, what would be your vote to replace it? I kind of lead towards Give It Away by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's a good one, Give It Away by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm not replacing Renegade. I'm
curious your thoughts on that.
We get tweets about this every once in a while, a couple times a year.
People think it doesn't work anymore.
People think it doesn't work anymore, all that stuff. Other teams lean into it. The Ravens, and they play it all week at practice and all that stuff. It's been a now 20+ year staple of Steelers games. That is a unique tradition. I just think it's so hard in sports to have a unique tradition.
Yeah.
Everybody does all the same things now.
Other people do this with towels.
Other people have towels.
Right,
Other people do certain, you go to a Jets game and it's JETS. You go to a Pitt game and it's PITT. Like, everybody does the same stuff.
Yeah.
When you have a song that is yours.
Or any tradition.
Yeah, Pitt plays Sweet Caroline. So do the Boston Red Sox, and so do 700 other teams.
Yeah.
I don't want this. When you say Renegade in stadium, it's a Pittsburgh Steelers thing. It's like
they're the only one doing it.
When you say Country Roads after a game, you think of WVU fans singing it after a game. When you think of Renegade as a hype song, Steelers fans are the only ones doing it. It is a unique Steelers thing.
There's not 3 teams in the NFL with a 12th man.
Exactly right. Exactly right. It is not Zombie Nation that everybody plays at every game. As much as I rag on Virginia Tech, like their Enter Sandman entrance is awesome.
Like, what's the White Stripes song that the Ravens do?
Yeah, Seven Nation Army. Everybody plays Seven Nation Army.
Yeah.
When you hear Renegade in a stadium setting, you think of the Steelers. And that's really the only time you hear it in a stadium setting. I know some people think it's gotten old. Some people think it doesn't have the same effect. All those things. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm not anywhere close to changing Renegade. I think it's a unique tradition in stadium, in sports, which is in 2026 it's very difficult to do when everyone is just a carbon copy of each other.
Everyone just repeats everyone's stuff. I love it. I totally agree with you. I think that you laid that out perfect. I hadn't given it much thought, but I think that if you do something cool that is unique, you just stick with it. And frankly, they could turn that to Hell's Bells or whatever. I don't think they're going to win more games or lose more games because of whatever tunes come out of the speakers, to be honest with you.
And I kind of think it's a badge of honor that like teams now are like, we have to prepare for Renegade.
Yeah.
I know some people will be like, well, other teams are stealing it. That only works out when you lose, and that's not the reason you lost.
That's probably the reason you lost. Probably didn't block well enough or tackle well enough, or you missed a field goal.
The fact that the Dolphins are talking about how they played it all week in practice, the Ravens talking about how that's a badge of honor.
Yeah. Just make them think about one more thing.
I go down on the south side for the Mike Tomlin press conferences on Tuesdays, and Pat Narduzzi and Pitt are playing the Florida State Tomahawk as they get ready to play this. They're playing that at practice the whole day.
And
that's a badge of honor. That doesn't mean Florida State should stop doing it because all of a sudden teams are ready for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
or they're not winning as many games as they used to when they had Dion and
they
Walter
play
Jones.
country roads down there a million times during Backyard Brawl Week. That's not the reason they win or lose.
Exactly.
Like it's good to have something that people identify you with.
As for the Peppers, I'm not a huge fan, but they just have a recent Netflix special I watched.
I watched that too.
A week ago or so. Yeah. And a little bit more respect for them.
Yeah.
Not that I hated them. They just weren't ever really for me.
Peppers are interesting to me because I love John Frusciante. I love Flea. I think they're outstanding. I think Chad Smith, their drummer, is outstanding. But yeah, just overall, I don't know. I like them. I don't love them as much as I probably should. As much as I like their
isn't really my bag either. Yeah.
And I'm not the biggest, their lead singer, Anthony Kiedis, I'm not the biggest fan of his.
Okay.
With the Ba-Ba-Doo-Ba California.
That's just the whole sound to me I could do without.
John tweets us and says, and that was Music Nation Radio for about 3 minutes there for you. John tweets us and says, I was listening to Sirius XM. They were doing a mock draft, and they had the Steelers taking Caleb Lomu at pick 21 and kicking him into guard. Thoughts?
So he's like my least favorite of those. Of all the guys that could go in that neighborhood,
I'd rather have Fanu. I'd rather have his teammate.
Well, for sure. Fanu to me is a run to the podium guy. Like when we do our top 21, he's going to be really, really high for me.
I did mine this morning, and he's in my top 10.
Okay. Yeah, that doesn't shock me at all. I'm sure he will be for me, too.
And I've been a fan of him since September. I've been a fan of that guy. He might be my draft crush.
My problem with Lomu for the Steelers is I kind of think he's left tackle only. Or tackle only. And for the Steelers, he'd be left tackle only.
For the Steelers, he'd be
Troy
left tackle.
for him.
Yes.
I mean, that's for sure. Would he be okay at guard? Probably. He's a talented player. I don't know that he's better than Anderson and Hoffman at guard day one, where I think like Proctor would be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even in love with Proctor, but I mean, I think Fanu would be. I think Honachor would be. Where you just stick him at guard, where they're overqualified, and then maybe move him to tackle, maybe not. Lomu to me,
he's just down my list of guys that I would want to.
Yeah, like I wouldn't take Freeling and put him at left guard either.
It's like Freeling, Lomu, Venga. I think they are what they are.
I think they are what they are.
Whereas a lot of the other guys, it's like he could be a guard or tackle. He could be a guard or tackle.
Venga's not going to be your left tackle.
Correct.
He may be a Pro Bowl left guard.
Sure.
I'm not saying he's bad.
Sure.
But he's not going to be your left tackle.
Let's do one more here. My goodness, we really do have a gazillion backload tweets here. This is like trying to get into Canton right now. Let's do one more before we go to break. Smooth Dave tweets and says Mike McCarthy has talked about how he loves big receivers. Do you think that will impact who the Steelers draft, or would another big receiver become redundant? Also, who was the better quarterback, Big Ben in his last season of 2021 or Aaron Rodgers last year?
I'd say Rodgers last year.
I think probably Rodgers last year.
I mean, there was a lot of get it out quick with Ben. I mean, both of them, but there was a lot of get it out quick with Ben, and very Rodgers could throw the ball a lot better than Ben.
Yes.
Yeah. And
I think
probably moved better.
Yeah, I think so too.
Just off current recollection.
I think so too.
I think if they draft a receiver high, I doubt he'll be one thing. One thing he didn't mention in that tweet was, yes, I think they want bigger receivers. And frankly, every position they've addressed this year has been a big person for their position. So I think they're becoming more of a bully across the board. But I do think it's important in McCarthy's situation or his offense, and Pittman's a good example. I don't think they want just a slot or just an outside burner. Yeah, I think they're going to want guys that can or eventually will have the ability to move around. Like, Brazel, to me, is a really interesting dude, but he always lines up on one side of the field and never moves around, and those are some red flags that I don't know that that's what they're after. But I also think that you can get too redundant because that's why I like kind of Concepcion, is he's a lot different than the other two, but he's not tiny. He's not Branch or he's not Burks or one of those type of guys.
Sure.
It's only slot that's small. He's not Austin. He's kind of a nice combination of both. Cooper to me would be a nice combination of both. Boston might be a little redundant.
Okay.
Just because.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Who's your great separate? Who's the quick guy? Who's the dude with the juice? You know, might be a little short on that, but boy, you got quite the basketball team. You know,
you can play some good positionless basketball. Out there,
and
that's
they all
for sure.
block, and you're physical, and you can be a bully. But who gets open on 3rd and 8? You know.
Let's continue this. We've got a bunch of tweets. We've got some draft questions. We've got some roster building questions. We've got a really good Larry Fitzgerald question here that you're gonna love. So let's get to break now. I'm enjoying this exercise. We'll get through a lot of these backlogs of these tweets here in hour number 2 on this Monday because we got time and you've got questions, and hopefully we can find some answers together. At Wesley Uhler, at Williamson NFL is where you get at us if you want to get involved. It is The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Back on The Drive here on this Monday. It's participation hour here in hour number 2.
Yeah, once we got to do it, you know.
Absolutely, especially this time of year. We got time. You got questions. We're hoping to find some answers together. And I think Matt is really going to like this one from our buddy Michael Adesso. Okay, so he shares with us a list of, would Larry Fitzgerald be the greatest wide receiver in your franchise's history? There's 5 tiers here. No, probably not. Argue either way. Probably and obviously.
Okay.
So
like Arizona, he's obviously.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Of course. And, he is, so the obviously tier is pretty sizable. The Bills, the Ravens, the Bears, the Panthers, the Jets, the Packers, the Bengals, the Colts. Ooh, I don't know about obviously for the Colts, man. They've had some great Hall of Famers. The Broncos, the
Colts
Raiders
aren't obvious.
The Colts at least aren't obvious. They can be an argue either way, or something like that.
It's a little early, but the Bengals aren't obvious soon either.
I was gonna say that too, but it's probably still a little early. The Broncos, the Raiders, the Chargers, the Jags, the Texans.
Raiders had some decent ones. I mean, Tim Brown.
And see, like the Texans, I think is probably, but it's not obviously. Like, Andre Johnson was amazing. Is Fitz better? Yeah, probably, but I don't think that's
You line those two up. They're both in the same tier.
I think that's at least a fair conversation.
Yeah.
Dolphins, Seahawks, Rams, Giants, Saints, Titans, Bucks, Commanders,
Mike
Chiefs,
Evans is similar.
Browns. I was going to say Mike. So I don't think any of those are clear-cut wrong, but I think a few of those should be in like the probably or the argue tier.
Side note, and we brought his name up earlier because he brought up the Dolphins, and I'm not going to count him for the Dolphins, but I think in the pantheon, I always say that word wrong. I think I said it right. Of ranking wide receivers ever, Tyreek should be way higher than people think.
Yeah.
I mean, because I look at it like if I'm a defensive coordinator, him in his prime, I didn't sleep all week at all. I mean, not almost the Randy Moss level. Like, what do I do with that? And Larry had some of that, but not as scary as just like he's going to flip the game if I miss one tackle, or he's going to run by me and I have to change my coverages to a ridiculous career. So like, funny story about Moss I heard was he sat down with, I think it was like Belichick, and when he became a Patriot, has this long conversation with his new team, and Moss was a much, much smarter wide receiver than people give him credit for. People was like, oh, he's tall and fast. And Larry learned a lot from Randy and Chris Carter. Those two were really cerebral and great players. But anyway, so I guess Moss sits down with the Patriots, and he's chatting with Brady and I guess McDaniels, the offense coordinator, and Belichick. And they're talking about all these, well, when we get cover one, we're going to adjust to this and blah, 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 blah. And I guess Randy sat there for like half an hour, and he's like, and they thought he was disinterested. And they're like, Randy, what's the deal? He's like, if I'm on the field, you're not going to get cover one. Ever.
It's just not happening.
There's always going to be a safety over me, whether it's cover 2 or cover. I mean, you're just never going to get it.
Yep.
You can make all the adjustments you want, but no one's going to play us like that, Coach. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, I guess
Andy.
you're right. Yeah,
I guess we don't really need to make these adjustments.
We're not getting a light
right.
box with Adrian Peterson running the ball. It's just not happening.
It never has happened in my whole career, so I can start now with Tom Brady throwing me the football. You know what I mean? Like Larry might get cover one once in a while.
I get what you're saying.
Tyreek's never getting cover one.
I get what you're saying.
What I mean?
So the no tier is the Niners, Jerry Rice. The probably not tier is the Randy Moss tier, Vikings and Patriots.
Yeah.
And then the argue either way tier is
Moss counts for the Patriots, right? He was there long enough.
I think he went to a Super Bowl with them.
Yeah.
Him and Brady broke the single season wide receiver
I just think he wasn't there
quarterback
super long, but fair enough.
So no for the Niners, probably not for the Vikings and Patriots. Argue either way for this is the part that bothers me, Lions and Falcons.
Calvin's a monster.
I get it for Calvin totally. But having Julio that means that they have Julio on a tier higher than T.O., higher than Antonio Brown or whoever you want to pick for the Steelers, higher than Michael Irvin or whoever you want to pick for the Cowboys. I don't know if I agree with that.
I think I do agree with that.
Do you?
It's close.
You got Julio over A.B. and T.O.? I don't know.
I mean, A.B. was a very much a contemporary because they were like the top two receivers neck and neck year after year. I think AB was better.
I think people forget, and maybe not in black and gold country, but I think people forget how dominant Antonio Brown was for
He's another
6 years.
Like if someone smart on the internet put the top 10 receivers of all time,
he better be on the list.
I bet Larry's ahead of him. And as much as I love Larry, I think I'd rather cover Larry all day than AB.
I'll tell you this right now. I'd rather cover Julio than those two. And I'm not trying to make it seem like I don't think Julio's great.
I'd probably have Irvin behind those guys. I'd have Calvin ahead of like everybody. I mean, talk about keeping you up at night. What do I do with that guy?
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Rice, no question. Moss, no question. Calvin, no question.
I thought someone mentioned T.O.
Yeah.
But he only counts for the Niners to me.
You don't think he counts for the Eagles?
He was only there for like 2 years.
I know, but they went to a Super Bowl. It's kind of the Randy Moss thing.
He was awesome.
He was the player that put that. I mean, I know they didn't win the Super Bowl, but
I guess, I mean, he was still in his prime.
I just thought this was
It's kind of a fun example,
and that you would like it because you're
What'd they do with the Steelers?
For your guy, Larry.
Did they say probably not?
They say probably. I would have them and argue either way because I think AB or Fitz is a fair, fine, good argument. But I don't think you can clearly say that Fitz was probably better than AB. I think that's too much.
See, one of the other side notes to this is Larry did such a long stint with Arizona of consistent year after year after year after year after year.
No doubt.
Where some of these dudes are semi-flashes in the pan. Like, I'd rather have Larry's Arizona career than AB's Pittsburgh career. But them on their best day, I think Brown was better, or their best year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It's like the long,
and he was a better teammate and a better blocker, and that kind of stuff too, for sure.
Absolutely.
But just in
like
terms
the longevity versus the
what did you do for that team over your entire
Patrick Willis versus
there?
Bobby Wagner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One played for 9 years and the other played for 16 years.
Some of that longevity has to count in his favor in some of these arguments.
I thought that was an interesting one from Adesso, and for me to say it too, I got nothing but all the respect in the world for Larry Fitzgerald. I think that guy's incredible human, incredible football player. Christopher tweets and says, "Happy Easter, guys. In regards to the Jermod McCoy conversation you had on Friday, just how sure are we on the Steelers re-signing Joey Porter Jr.?" I'm pretty confident it's going to
85%.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's one of their own. He's from the area. His dad's a legend with the organization. They have been hammered for decades about how they can't draft and develop cornerbacks, and they finally drafted and developed one. Now, I realize it was a different regime, but it's still the same front office.
I mean, I didn't say 95% just because maybe his agent thinks he's that he should be the number one paid corner in the league, and I'm not sure I'm doing that right now.
But if it's that, or you let him walk and you get a third-round comp pick, I don't know. Yeah. I think I'm still leaning towards.
He's going to be really well compensated, but maybe they're just off on the numbers. Is the only reason I could see it. But I think they're highly interested in bringing him back. Extremely, extremely.
Joe tweets us. They better be. Joe tweets us and says, "Love the drive and all the draft coverage. One of the things that you guys talk about that I've heard Coach Mike McCarthy mention is the need to establish and win the running game, knowing that this is a passing league. How do those opposing concepts play into the selection of what the Steelers might do with the offensive line?" Oh, interesting.
It's always a balance.
I don't think it's not as much as the left side is your dancing bear pass protectors and the right side is your face mask mashing maulers. It's not that clear cut anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There's these guys don't have as big of a gap in their ability to pass protect and run block quite like offensive linemen used to.
Agreed.
But that's still an interesting question.
I think I know this 66% certainty that if you were to poll 50 offensive line coaches, they would tell you I can teach him to run block more than the other way around.
Totally.
Like if one's coming into the league, you'd definitely rather them be strong in the pass block.
If you're split between Matt Williamson and Wes Uhler at pick 53, and one's really good at run blocking and one's really good at pass blocking, you're probably going to lean towards that. That's the
Especially if he shows a willingness to run block and has a nasty streak and all those things. I think that can be developed better where you'd rather not restructure their pass protection stuff. Plus, it gets your quarterback killed. I mean,
and that's the most important asset on the team.
You can run the ball effectively with an offensive lineman not being perfect in the run game. You still can pick up 4 yards.
Totally.
You know.
But if you miss an assignment in the pass blocking or you get just beat off the ball like you're on roller skates, then it becomes a little bit of a problem. Tyler tweets us and says, in all of my mock drafts I keep doing, I end up getting Skylar Bell in the 3rd round. I don't understand why he's not getting much buzz. I'm not sure why. He seems like does everything well, can start as a solid number 3 who grows into a number 2 type wide receiver.
Funny he brought him up because I did a little bit of work on him over the weekend, and he's growing on me more and more. I think
UConn wide receiver for those at home who aren't sure who we're talking about.
There's a Louisville one as well.
Yeah, Chris Bell is the Louisville guy.
I think Chris Bell could be special. Chris Bell's big and fast and rugged and, wow. I heard a comparison, though, for Skylar of a Tyler Lockett type. I think he's a little bigger than Lockett, but he also has return skills, can line up all over the formation, not just a slot, good out of his breaks. And I think that's well said, that I think he'd come in and he's pretty pro-ready. That's a term I don't throw around much because no one's pro-ready.
Yeah, sure.
But I think he would be, if he was your only guy you drafted at that position, I'd be shocked if he wasn't your 3 immediately and a year from now capable of being a 2. So, yeah, that's worth a 3rd-round pick all day, and I could see him in the 2nd.
I'll tell you what, the way that these wide receivers shake out is going to be very interesting come those 3 days.
There's a lot of them. There's all shapes and sizes.
Annie tweets us.
But I've warmed up to him more and more during the process, yeah.
Annie tweets us and she says, it sounds crazy, but I like the mocks like you guys did on Friday where things don't fall in a favorable way.
I saw this tweet, yeah.
I think most teams face that scenario at some point during the draft. It's interesting to hear the logic and the conversation behind it. Happy Easter. Yeah, thanks, Annie. I do too. I like it. I hope that it doesn't play out that way for the Steelers.
Right.
Come a couple of weeks here, but for our purposes, sometimes it's nice to look things differently. Okay, this didn't work out. Where do you pivot to? What's next? Because hey, that's not just the draft, Matt. That's life in general, baby. It's not always going to.
I was just saying the exact same thing. I think you learn a lot more about people or decision makers or organizations or anyone when things don't go to script. It's pretty easy to sit back here and play the game of life whenever you roll well, or whatever, you know what I mean? But when the going gets tough or you get dealt a curveball you didn't see coming, that's honestly the beauty of the doing the 21 list, because at least you've gone through that. Like you'll never get the 21st player at 21, but like what's the line of demarcation where, man, you get to 13, it's like I'm not real comfortable taking this guy at 21, or man, things went really wrong if we're taking the 16th best guy on our board. I think you learn a lot that way. You can't go all the way to 53.
No.
You're not going to build a board of 53. Yeah. It'd be too hard. But, plus you already have a pick made.
On my top 21 list that I did this morning, after the 5th pick, I wrote in parentheses, this is where it starts to get hard. Mm-hmm. And then after the 15th pick, I wrote in parentheses, this is where it starts to get really hard.
And you hope you don't get any of those guys. You don't want 16, 17, 18, 19, or 21.
Right.
Like I remember when I did my 20 last year, my 20th best player was somebody I thought maybe I could even get in the 2nd round.
Interesting.
Because all the edges and stuff like that, they went like, man, I wouldn't hate to take this guy in the first, but if I had to, you got to make a pick.
Steeler Nation 920 tweets us and says, in your opinion, what is the most important thing when analyzing wide receivers to potentially draft? Also, what are each of your favorite sports memories? Those are two good questions.
Well, one thing I want to mention about receivers is your ability to accelerate and decelerate is super important.
That probably relates to separation directly.
Yeah.
There's probably a direct correlation there, I would imagine.
People often think about speed or even acceleration. You're like, boy, great burst off the line, or when he opens it up, look out.
His 10-yard split, yeah.
But how fast does he slow down, too? I mean, that's really hard to do. How fast can you stop and turn around and,
find the ball and get set? Yeah.
Corner goes flying by, because I can decelerate better than the guy guarding me. It's something to look at for sure.
I like that
to throw out there.
Yeah. I mean, separation was the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah.
Because almost all these guys now can run and catch and,
But some of them can't slow down on their break. I mean, they're.
And like I said,
it takes
I
a while
think
to put
there's a
the
direct
brakes
correlation
on.
to those things.
Absolutely.
Favorite sports memory, Matt?
The two Steelers Super Bowls, certainly when I was a fan outside of the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Penguins Cups, for sure, especially the Lemieux era, just because I was younger. You're more of a fan. You're younger.
Sure.
It influences you more.
Absolutely. That's what I think most. I think that's usually a typical
Probably,
wheelhouse. Like mine's pretty easy, and this is I'm cheating. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But when I was a senior in high school, and back half of your senior year is a lot of fun. Your buddies, you've got the senioritis.
I've seen it with my kids.
You've got driver's
firsthand for the last 2
license.
weeks,
Your parents aren't as strict on you. You're going to college, all that stuff. In February, the Steelers won the Super Bowl against the Cardinals. Santonio Holmes in the back of the end zone, one of the greatest Super Bowls ever. A couple months later, the Penguins won the Stanley Cup in Game 7 over the Detroit Red Wings. That stretch would be...
That's a pretty good
for that
back-to-back,
to happen when I was
right.
18 with all my buddies at that age of life, a couple months apart, Steelers win the Super Bowl, Penguins win the Stanley Cup, both in one of the best Super Bowls ever, and in a Game 7. Yeah, I think that will always be my fondest stretch of being a sports fan. And when we became the city of champions here again in Pittsburgh, baby, that was a lot of fun, man.
I was a little young for We Are Family and Steelers Super Bowl,
Sure.
like when they're both on the
Sure.
Sports Illustrated cover. But I was old enough to know this is awesome.
Yes, exactly right. But yeah, those two kind of lined up perfectly for me in 2009 with the end of my senior year and friends.
A lot of it's based on your
license
age.
Yes.
Yeah.
Parents giving us the freedom to have some fun and go to parades and do all that good stuff.
Like I said, both my kids have been. The last 2 years, I've seen that senior year. Yeah. And they're enjoying it.
I got my acceptance letter to WVU 6 days into my senior year.
And knew you were going there from
My parents hated me for the rest of the time.
Get out of here. Go to school.
One more segment to go. We'll continue to close this thing down with some of your questions, comments, concerns, and reactions. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Final segment here, and Matt, we just turned this final hour into the Twitter hour, into the participation hour. Like I said too, because TV is always monitoring the video side of things, and he's like, "Hey guys, we've been getting a lot of questions and participation in the YouTube comments. We'll start pulling from there as well for those of you that are not active on X Twitter, as our guy Dale liked to call it. But this was fun. I enjoyed this, and we've actually put a real dent in kind of most of these backlog of tweets here. I think,
and they're really good questions too.
They are. That's the thing.
Right.
We
not just going to throw out nonsense.
Exactly right. And about 90% of them are Steelers and draft related, but then we get the occasional ones about sports memories or what TV shows are you guys watching, and we don't mind talking about those things for 60 seconds either. Josh tweets and says, "Love the show, guys. Thoughts on a late round quarterback? If he's there, I'm really warming up to Taylon Green." And one of these super, the super athletic quarterback. And if you do so, maybe you could even trade Mason Rudolph. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and I lean more and more, and again, reading the tea leaves and paying attention to their visits and stuff of that nature. I don't think Simpson or Nussmeier is really for them, especially after Coach McCarthy's quotes about big hands, big body. These guys are smaller. And there's been some reports, I think Jerry Dulac put it out there, that if they do get a quarterback, it's someone that they think has a higher upside than Howard. And I don't know exactly how he phrased it, but they're not looking for somebody that's Howard's backup. They're looking for somebody that maybe, if ever the stars align, could be ahead of Howard. And to me, that almost narrows it down to two guys. It's Cole Payton and Green.
Yeah.
Like they would be total projects, total redshirt years. But if they hit, great. And they don't want to hear this, but they could even be a tight end for it. I mean, there's a chance they could do something else. I just think they're going to go pretty high, especially Green.
I am starting to think that Taylon Green, Cole Payton. I don't know if there's the buzz around Sawyer Robinson. He would fit the type, but those
I don't know that the upside is big enough for him.
The other two,
because he's not 6'5",
I'm starting to think that the Taylon Greens and the Cole Paytons of the world are going to go higher than the Drew Allers of the world.
I think they should. Aller's not for me. I think they should
go. The Carson Becks
of the world. The
Becks
of the world. That's a good one. You know, like he's safe and that's fine, but he got that, So I think if they roll the dice, it's going to be somewhat of a long shot with one of those two that might hit huge, that won't do anything in his rookie year, and it wouldn't be good news for Rudolph. But I fear that's going to cost you a third-round pick, one of those late thirds, and I'm probably out on that.
Same.
I mean, if you're
telling me. So this was, maybe we could do this week too, an exercise in my, my weird world of Wes Uhler.
Mm-hmm.
Your weird world is like going through the divisions while you lay in bed and being like, which quarterback would I this and that?
Right.
Mine is laying in bed and being like, all right, what the heck can Matt and I talk about for 2 hours this week to kill some time? Quarterbacks that we would take by round, if that makes sense.
I thought that's where you're going to go with this.
So Mendoza I would take in the first round. Ty Simpson I would take in the second round, and on down the list.
Like, I think that's how you do it. Let's bring up every quarterback and be like,
I started to put my list together.
Would you trade this pick for that player today?
And I had Green as an easy, I would give up a 5th-round pick for him, but I don't know if he's going to last that long.
I definitely would give up a 5th for him. I don't think I'd give up a 3rd. 4th, we have a conversation.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of it's because of what the Steelers have, too. Because by the 4th, the minute day 2 ends.
Like, I'd have Aller and Beck in the 7th round because I'm just not.
I don't know what he does for me. Right.
Maybe we could do that exercise this week.
I think we should. We could even do it tomorrow. Again, maybe I would take Green in the 4th round because at that point I already have 5 players on the team. I already have a safety.
That's a good point when you consider it's not like you're just making 1 3rd-round pick.
No, right. I still have 5 picks to go get needs. Would I swap one of those 4ths for Green right now?
I'm going to think about that
Maybe.
a little bit more.
You know what I mean?
I'll
think about that.
Let's plan on doing that tomorrow.
And we could do it for every quarter. We could do 10 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Some of them might be like, I'll give up a 5th for that guy.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, Mendoza, Simpson, Nuss, Green, Payton, Aller, Beck, Robinson, Klubnik, that's 9 that I just rattled off without even really thinking.
Probably 1 or 2 more.
There's probably 1 or 2 more that I'm forgetting about there. Ian tweets us and said, "Gentlemen, hope you had a hoppy Easter. Ha 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 ha." With Kirk O'Chain's signing, real quick, do you know who Kirk O'Chain's is?
No.
That's a nickname for Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
Kirk O'Chain's. With Kirk O'Chain's signing, it's either going to be Rodgers or Mason and Will Howard's season. How optimistic should Steelers fans be? And please tell me why we are going to win the Super Bowl.
I'm not going to tell you why.
Because you're going to trade for Dexter Lawrence, obviously, and have the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah, sign Ayuk and right. Rodgers gives you the best chance to win the Super Bowl.
Of course.
Yeah, without question. I just think it's going to be Rodgers.
I do too.
I can't believe even if Rodgers has an epiphany, wakes up tomorrow morning and says, I never want to play football again. I'm going to host Jeopardy or I'm going to go do what I'm going to do. I still don't think it would only be Howard. And
I don't think so either. I think they'd have to do something.
Trade for Carr or trade for Matt Jones or somebody that, I just think you can't go in there with a Rudolph Howard quarterback competition.
Here's a good one from Jimbo Dean. Jimbo Dean says, could Kenyon Sadiq being there at pick 21 be good for the Steelers because there might be some team that want to trade up to get him?
I don't know if we've had this conversation, but I think Omar somehow, quote, leaked it or mentioned, boy, Sadiq's really awesome, blah, 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 blah. which to me just smelled like the biggest smokescreen for this reason.
And
of
we've
all
talked
time.
a lot. We've talked a lot about how this is not a year where people want to trade up. But
I
a
think
guy
he's-
like him lasting into the 20s might be what gets
because
that
he's
to
unique
change.
enough.
Yeah,
That maybe
a Caleb Downs lasting till pick 14 or 15.
maybe the Steelers are the team to trade up for him.
Yeah.
I don't think ever the Steelers would trade up for Sadiq. I believe that to my core. I don't even think he'll be in my top 21. I don't know if he maybe will. I haven't done the exercise. It's easy to say it without doing the exercise. But the problem is if you leak it that, man, we love Sadiq, he's awesome, people need to get in front of you to take him. Well, that doesn't do you any good to trade out of 21 if someone trades to 20 to take him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like you can throw
You
these
need to
smoke
be
screen
the
out.
clock needs to be rolling for pick 21, and your phone is blowing up.
Yeah, but people are going to think you love. If they think you love them, they get ahead of you for them.
True.
They don't call you for them
True.
because they think you're going to take them. I mean, maybe they would, but it does you more good if someone you don't want is there at 21, which I think he's perfect for. So let me rephrase this. I guess throwing out the smoke screen doesn't do any good, but it could do the Steelers a lot of good if he's available at 21, even if they're not interested, because I think he's one of the few dudes that several teams might be interested to move up 5 spots for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Whether you like him or not, it doesn't matter.
All right, we got like a minute left here. Josiah tweets and says, if baseball can have replays in an instant, soccer can have instant goal line and offside technology, why does a review in the NFL take 2 commercial breaks? And a follow-up, if you could use instant replay to challenge any situation in real life, what would it be? When I catch my daughters lying about candy that they took from the pantry or something like that.
Yeah.
I agree. You and I have had this, like, why?
It shouldn't take that
500
long, right? Yeah.
4K cameras, and we still have guys that are typically like in their 60s and 70s and older in the tooth running out there with chains and measurements.
It's a
And
little bonkers.
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that, but I agree. I mean, I think the baseball one is a great example. That's new, and it's quick, and it's fast.
And it seems awesome, the little I've seen of it, and super efficient.
The soccer, if the ball is like, the referee can look at his watch to see if the ball fully went over the goal line or not. If it's like a play at the
Wow.
goal
Doesn't even
line,
have to like huddle or
and like a defenseman clears it off the line, and the team's arguing that it crossed, and the ref just has to look at his watch, and it's like he gets a notification if the ball crossed
Yes or
fully
no.
base. It takes 3 seconds.
Wow.
So I would love to see the NFL go to something like that.
Yeah. So if there is some, I'm not a technology wizard, I'm not a soccer or baseball wizard, but it indicates that it could be quicker.
Yeah, which would always be all right with us. But then the cynic in me is like, they want the long review because then they can do more ads and more of that.
Well, you make
stuff.
more money, probably. Yeah,
Exactly right. Fun stuff today. We got through a good chunk, probably 90% of those backlog tweets. Still a few more that we'll get to as the week
more
rolls
coming
along.
between now and then.
Bring it on. These are the weeks. This is the time of year to do it because eventually we're going to have so much to get to that we will have minimal participation, but this is the time of year where we have plenty of opportunity and plenty of room to let you all spread your wings and fly, and we appreciate you asking good questions. But that will do it for us today. Big thanks to Nate Dogg, our resident baseball expert on the ones and twos, Mr. TV, Tyler V, over there hanging out, doing the video stuff as always. For Matt Williamson, I'm Wes Uhler. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow. You know where to find us. It's on your 24/7 home of the black and gold, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.
What's up, NFL fans? The NFL Draft is finally here. And while you might not know who your team is drafting this year, you do know your watch party's #1 pick, Bud Light. The clean, crisp taste that has all the scouts talking. Guess that's why it's been the group's go-to draft beer season after season. Be sure to order a round for the table before your team's on the clock. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.